Toxic Mist, in my opinion, is one of the most unique, coolest, and interesting subs in all of Splatoon. They took Disruptor, reworked it, gave it the ability to drain one's ink, and back in Splatoon 2, it was the only thing that can drain one's ink, even if you're submerged in ink and still shows where you are as long as you're being affected by the mist. However, I think it's the worst sub across all the mainline Splatoon games. Yes, even worse than Marker. At least Marker does damage, can locate, even with its lingering trail, and has 1.5 times more range than Leader. Today, I want to show you and talk about not only how can we make Toxic Mist better, but make it healthier overall. Subscribe if you want to see videos similar to this. I have a lot more planned outside of this one idea alone. So there are 3 main ideas I would love to see, especially with being implemented in Splatoon 4. We'll call each idea A, B, and C respectively. Let's start with idea A. Idea A is the coolest and probably the healthiest one in my opinion, and that idea is to simply give it location effects, like if you were caught in a point sensor. The idea is to fuse both point sensor and mist into one sub, kind of like how they fused Bomb Defense and Cold Blood in Splatoon 2, making it into Bomb Defense DX. Although it would keep the same name as Toxic Mist, and outside of this hypothetical new perk it has, it would have some drawbacks, so it wouldn't be that overtuned. First, I'd like to see point sensors scrapped and not returning to Splatoon 4. I think it's pretty obvious when mists with locating perks exist, then why would point sensor exist at all? Secondly, make it back into a 60% sub when currently in Splatoon 3 it costs 55%. Finally, make it so that you can only throw 2 mists at once. Fun fact, by the way, did you know that there's a limit on how many toxic mists you can throw? If you were to hypothetically have enough sub saver, and trust me, having 3 peers of sub saver isn't enough. The game lets you throw up to 6 mists at once. If you throw a 7th, the first mist will disappear. Kind of like if you place too many beacons, where the 4th one will cause the first beacon to destroy itself. Anyways, spoilers ahead, by the way, but the other 2 drawbacks for ideas B and C respectively would be the 5% ink consumption increase and only being able to throw 2 mists at most. I'm not going to repeat these 2 drawbacks, by the way, so just kind of keep in mind when we go down with these other 2 ideas. Idea B was to make the toxic part and Toxic Mist actually do damage. It'll have a max damage cap of 80 damage. It would also do 0.4 damage per frame, which is the same DPS as Ink Storm. Fun fact. I'd also like to see the Toxic Mist effects on this to linger for another second at most, the moment you leave the mist as well. So you'll still be fairly sluggish, losing ink, and still take about at least 24 damage total the moment you leave the mist. I think this one would be more threatening to deal with and would make it more of a risk to go through the mist instead of just squid rolling through mist, which most players already do anyways. Not only would it make mist not only a threatening obstacle to get around with, but it wouldn't be stupidly easy to avoid and deal with anymore. The trade-off is that it would have extra whitey frames, so it would be harder to spam the specific mist. Idea C is the simplest, which is to drop mini ink droplets onto the ground. Basically a mini ink storm, but the pellets wouldn't drop as fast. By the time Toxic Mist is gone with Idea C, it would basically look like this, but more paint is scattered and has more of a pattern every time the sub is used. Again, kind of similar to what Inkstorm kind of looks like, but all scrunched up and closer together. Idea C would basically buff the supporting aspect of Mist and theoretically is more ideal in modes like Splat Zones. I think that Idea C would also give more supportive playstyle weapons in Splatoon 3 with what we currently have right now, give the opportunity to be used more and buffing their strengths as well supportive options, especially with unique comp ideas that the weapons that Mist is paired up with. My favorite part of this idea the most is the fact that if you yourself is in the mist, your feet would basically always be painted underneath you as long as you're inside the mist, which in my opinion is super cool and sick. So which is your favorite idea? Idea A, which fuses both Toxic Mist and Point Sensor to one sub weapon. Idea B, which is a DPS take on the sub. Or Idea C, which gives it cool painting perks. Let me know in the comments section below and I will see you all next time. Stay foolish.